If I were to take my chick here and just go dump her into the coop with all the adult hens, it could pretty quickly turn into a scene at a fight club. This can be avoided though by following all or some of these 5 tips. You don't talk about fight club. The first thing you need to do before you even think about getting your chicks out into the coop is they need to get used to being outside. So as soon as their feathers come in and as soon as you're getting like 60-degree temperatures outside, you want to start bringing them outside for little field trips outside, if you will. This is going to do a few different things. It's going to acclimate them to the outdoors, the temperatures, all the different things. They're also going to start pecking and kind of foraging and scratching at the ground, finding little things to eat, eating the rocks, getting the grit, getting all sorts of bacteria that they're going to be ingesting when they're outside. It's going to kind of get them ready to be introduced into the chicken coop. This is kind of the best pen type system thing that I found that keeps them safe outdoors. It's got a nice secure lid on the top of it, and it doesn't just slide on, it velcros on, and it's pretty secure, and it locks shut. We saw this on another YouTube channel called Okabode. They use these, and that's where we found them, and it works perfectly for what we're doing here. This keeps them safe from any hawks that might be up in the sky trying to get a snack. This keeps them safe from the dogs in the yard, the neighbor cats, everything. This allows you to bring them outside, start acclimating them to the weather, but you don't have to actually like sit and watch them 24/7 while they're outside. Our birds are already well acclimated to the outdoors at this point. We've kind of been bringing them out over the last month, 6 weeks or so. So they're ready to really start introducing them to the older flock. Tip number 2 is bring them near the adult hens, but not where they can get to each other. So for us, we're still using this same pen that we were using earlier, but now is the first time they're actually bringing them close to the adult hens. And you can hear them in the background. They're kind of hooting and hollering at me because they see the chicks and they're not very happy about it. The hens are gonna be like Mean Girls. Have you seen the movie Mean Girls? My wife would be so proud of me right now. They're gonna feel like the chicks are encroaching on their territory. They're not gonna be happy with them. They're not gonna be excited about them being here. But what this does is putting this pen here, it gives them an opportunity to get that first initial greeting, that first initial meet. It starts to get them used to them being there. It kind of slowly introduces them to the area rather than just throwing them in the coop. Now, if you want to use this pen, I'll put a link down in the description below for it. But if you don't, there's plenty of other ways you can do this. You can let the chicks out and just kind of walk around the run, maybe throw some food down on the ground, get them nice close to the run there. You don't have to use this. You can use any other possible way you can think of, maybe putting up a fence, whatever you need to bring the chicks close to the hens where they can't physically get to each other, so that way the hens aren't hurting your chicks. Now, the older birds are gonna go from being kind of like upset and pissed off that they're here, and they're gonna start to calm down and they're gonna get more curious. They're gonna start coming up to the fence and checking them out and just getting used to the idea of them being here. This process, you can do this for 1 day, you can do it for a week, however long you feel like your chicks need or your hens need. For us, this isn't the first time we've done this. We've done this a few times now. The hens are starting to get used to the idea of the chicks. Now, at this point, if your birds aren't kind of meeting at that middle fence, you could also start adding in maybe some treats over here at the fence line to kind of bring them together, to kind of get them used to each other a little bit more. What we use is, hold on, let me grab it. Our go-to treat is always gonna be grub terra. We love this stuff. So what we'll do is we'll throw some right here, right there for the hens to come over to the fence here. That way they can stay nice and close and get used to the chicks. And let me tell you, this stuff is definitely helpful. I've never seen the chickens go after something like they do this grub terra. Seriously good stuff. I'm gonna put a link down in the description below. I also have a discount code, so we'll go ahead and throw that down in the description below as well. Tip number 3, sorry if you can hear the lawnmower next door. Tip number 3 is, now that the birds have started to get used to each other, they're hanging out with each other at that fence line. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bring them one step closer, and how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna take the hens out of the chicken run, and I'm gonna let them be out and about and around where the chicks are hanging out in their pen. What this is gonna do is it's gonna kind of help bring the hens out of their comfort zone. It's going to kind of make it neutral territory, if you will. What I'll do is I'll throw some food out around here to kind of make sure they stay close and they don't wander off to the other side of the yard. Come on, girls. So what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna throw this food right here at the fence line, and we might see some pecking from the older birds, but if we do see some pecking, it's not that big of a deal. So we've got all the younger birds, they're sticking their head out of this fence. You've got some of the older birds that are coming over and picking the food right there with them. And this is really good. This is them socializing together, eating together. These birds are social, they're social animals, and this is helping them build that relationship. So that way when we do put the chicks in the coop, it's not such a big shock. Tip number 4 is at this point, the birds have met. They've eaten together, they've hung out kind of separately together. There hasn't been very many issues. I feel comfortable letting them free range with each other. And when you let them free range for the first time, you want to kind of keep an eye on it. And the things we're looking for is there's going to be pecking. There's going to be some issues with the pecking order. You've got the bigger hens are going to be establishing that pecking order and kind of showing the younger chicks who's boss. And that's completely normal. So if you look right now, let me get out of the way here. If you look right now, they're all eating together. They're doing totally fine, but the hens know that the chicks are in the pen and they're not going to be really getting out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them out and let them free range together. What I'm watching for is I'm watching for bullying and really kind of overly aggressive behavior. I'm okay with pecking. I'm okay with them chasing each other around, kind of establishing that pecking order. That's normal. That's totally fine. The things that you want to break up and avoid is you don't want them pulling each other's feathers out. You don't want them drawing blood. You don't want just any excessive bullying. You want to keep an eye out for that type of stuff. So let's go ahead and let the chicks out and see what happens. Come on, guys. Come on. Here, come around over here. So already they're doing great. You've got the older hens with the younger ones right over here. What I want to do is I want these younger ones to realize that the pen's open. So let's go ahead and move the pen. There you go. Whoop. And so what we're seeing right now is you've got an adult hen that's over here with the chicks. You've got the rest of the hens that they went back into the coop. That's where they want to be. But nothing that I'm seeing right now worries me whatsoever. One thing you'll see at this point, which is happening here, is we've got cliques. We've got most of the chicks are over here kind of doing their own thing. And then we've got all the hens that are back there doing their own thing. We've kind of got the outliers in the middle here hanging out. But for the most part, they're separated, and that's normal because right now, you've got the adult flock and you've got the chick flock, and they're two completely separate flocks. And so they are gonna stick together. That's who they're comfortable with. They're gonna stay really close. Eventually those two flocks will merge and they'll be one big happy flock. But right now that's not gonna be the case, and it's not going to be for quite a while, and that's normal. So it's okay when you integrate your birds, you don't have to worry about them kind of hanging out together. You just have to worry about them tolerating each other at first. So far, we've got one really nice hen that just wants to hang out with them all. But this is good. This is them just kind of getting to know each other, figuring everything out, and we'll keep an eye on them for a little while. We've had chickens for quite a few years now, and I've never seen it go as easy as it just did today. The chicks ended up just kind of wandering into the chicken run on their own, which isn't something that normally happens. Once they were in there, the adult hens were pretty cool with it. We had a few hens kind of peck, just kind of show them who's boss, you know, just like, hey, get out of my way. Hey, that's my food, stuff like that. Now, if your birds aren't playing nice, then you can go to tip 5, which is gonna be put your pen or something inside of your chicken coop if you have the room, where the chicks can spend the night with the adult birds, but not have access to the adult birds, or where the adult birds can actually get to them and hurt them. You can put the pen inside the coop. They will be able to sleep together, hang out together, really get used to each other for a long extended period of time inside the coop, which is the hen's kind of like home turf. See, just barely we had one of these older hens here just kind of peck at the white one, but it was just a quick peck, showed it who's boss. White bird ran away, and the hen just kind of let her run. This is what you're looking for. You're gonna see a lot of posturing where the birds kind of get up, put their chest up and ruffle their feathers, just, you know, I'm big, I'm bad, watch out type of deal. I think one really quick important thing to mention is we went through all of these steps really, really quickly, but that's because we've been working on this for the last 2 weeks. We've been introducing them, getting them to know each other, and honestly, that's probably why it went so smoothly when we actually got them together. So tonight's gonna be their first night in the coop together. We'll see how that goes, but it's not always this easy. This happened because of the couple of weeks doing the tips that we talked about here today. So do everything we talked about, and hopefully yours goes as smooth as ours does. We worked really hard to make it this smooth, and you can too. If your birds aren't getting along as well as these are right now, then go through the other tips, the earlier tips, where you have them up against the fence next to each other, and really give them some good extended time doing that to really kind of get to know each other where they can't access each other. That's gonna be really helpful. And if you can fit a pen or something like that inside of your coop, that's gonna be extremely helpful if you can put them in there overnight. See, we just had, we're having a little tussle back here, but that's okay. This one just kind of showing them like, hey, I see that you're here. I'm the boss, you're not the boss, get in line. And this type of behavior is completely normal, and I'm not worried about it. There are 3 main things you want to be looking for to know that your birds are integrated. Number 1, you want to see that they are all sleeping on the roost together, or at least all on the roost. Maybe not all kind of hanging out together, but you want to make sure that all the birds are sleeping on the roost and that the older birds aren't kicking the younger birds down onto the floor somewhere. You want to make sure that the chicks are getting access to food and water. Sometimes the older birds, if they're really not taken well to the chicks, they're not going to let them eat or drink. They're going to kind of keep them away from that, and every time the chicks go to it, they're going to attack them. So you want to make sure that they're on the roost, they're getting access to food and water, and you're not seeing any bloody birds, any sores, any ripped out feathers, stuff like that. Once you have all 3 of those things checked off, your birds are integrated, you are good to go. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, you're probably going to enjoy every video on this playlist here. This is everything we have as far as chicken content goes. There's a growing list on there, so go ahead and watch those videos, and I'll see you there.